Conservative David Davis is a right-winger and a Eurosceptic, but he's also come out strongly against government plans for a so-called Snoopers Charter. What does he make of the debate over Edward Snowden's leaks?
What you have to understand is that, of course, there's a massive importance of using intelligence against terrorists and foreign states and all the rest of it, right across the board, from very, very high-intensity stuff, like military stuff, through to rather more general commercial stuff. That happens. All states do it. The issue here, however, is the extent to which we allow our own citizens to be trawled through. Nobody's going to argue about targeted snooping, which is under proper judicial surveillance. But it's the massive trawling through in the hope of finding something, the sort of organised, systematic fishing expedition that's wrong in this.
Now, you talked just now about your worries about the sheer volume of stuff, whether you've got no problem with properly targeted listening into or snooping on terrorists. And yet, President Obama has said nobody is listening to your telephone calls or reading your emails. They can't do anything that they are not told to do and for which people get proper permission.
All the American stuff, Prism, protects the law.
Prism is the software.
Is the American software that sweeps through all the American internet traffic, basically. It protects Americans. They don't actually look at American stuff because...
As Obama said.
Because their constitution prevents it, right? Mm-hmm. But you and I are treated the same as a North Korean or an Iranian. You know, we are in the same category. We could be an enemy alien. We're just an alien as far as they're concerned. So we have no protection in that respect. Anything the Americans handle, we have zero protection. So when the Foreign Secretary gives what's called a block intercept approval, and we give all of this stuff, all of our GCHQ intercept to the Americans, we're no longer protected. This is the problem. The law is out of date. It's behind the move of technology and indeed what the spooks get up to.
But hasn't the Foreign Secretary, William Hague, specifically denied that and said that they can't cheat by putting things via America and then coming back here and saying, David Davis's email said...
I mean, well, let me give you an example where this might be important. He didn't say that information wasn't given to America. All the stuff that's come out has shown that GCHQ hands over en bloc the content of the buffers, everything we pick up off the internet in the Tempora program. What William has said is this is done legally under warrant, which of course is true, but the warrant wasn't designed to deal with this sort of enormous quantity. It was designed to deal with one intercept at a time. It wasn't really designed to deal with...
But this is a block warrant that covers God knows how many...
Basically anything that goes abroad. 30 years ago, what went abroad would only be a sort of international telephone traffic, really. Now, everything in the cloud. Most Google servers are abroad, they're not here. All the cloud storage is not here, which introduces all sorts of problems. Lawyers have now got to worry about having cloud servers for dealing with their client accounts, because what they're doing is effectively putting their client accounts in an open position with respect to American surveillance.
Do you think that Europe should take a common line against the US over this, as President Hollande has suggested?
Well, actually, I do. I mean, this would be the one and only time I will ever say on this programme that there is a better European than a national solution. But I think it's entirely proper for them. There's going to be a real security issue in this internationally in terms of common trust between allies. Because after all, one of my objections to this is the Americans don't, as I said, don't distinguish between us and the North Koreans. They ought to treat their allies differently and their allies' citizens differently to others. But they don't. So that's one part of it. But the other part as well is there's also a big commercial issue here. You know, if I were working for Google now, I'd go and set up my own company in Germany, because German law gives the best protection in Europe to individual privacy, and it would be a fantastic commercial advantage.
Now, you have said, I think, on the record that the existing UK regulatory framework is completely ineffective.
Yeah.
What would you like to see done about it, specifically about our system?
Truth be told, I think it needs root and branch reform. But what that root and branch reform should do is force the agencies back to using proper judicial warrants for all, they do it already for intercepts, but for all data monitoring of all sorts. That would make them focus on their actual targets rather than going trawling through lots and lots of innocent people's private emails. That, in my view, would not only improve privacy, which is important, it would actually also, in my view, improve the effectiveness of the agencies. I mean, look at the two terrorist events in this country in the last decade. One was 7/7. What do we know about 7/7? There were 4 terrorists who were known to the agencies for quite a while before, and indeed even recorded and intercepted. But they had so many suspects, because of the way they do these things, they didn't focus on them. What do we know about Woolwich? These people were known to the agencies, and they didn't focus on them either. So actually sweeping up vast amounts of information can waste a lot of time and a lot of resource and maybe distract you from the real targets.
Finally, what do you think is going to be the longer-term fallout from all this?
Well, I think a number of things. The real big fallout will be commercial fallout, because people will just stop trusting Google, Yahoo, Facebook. Actually, oddly, there's going to be a competitive advantage for European software companies out of this. It's a sort of strange thing. So that'll be a big commercial fallout. There'll be a big international relations fallout in terms of the Europe-America suspicions, if you like. And domestically for Britain, I think the Snoopers Charter will be dead in the water, because before the Snoopers Charter, a lot of people would just not really take it terribly. Before this all happened, a lot of people didn't take it terribly seriously. In the last couple of weeks, I've had any number of people come up to me and say, oh, you were right. You know, what you were describing in most general terms, because I can't talk in specifics, in most general terms was broadly correct. And I think what this has done is absolutely encapsulated the problem in open-ended surveillance, and will make a lot of parliamentarians suddenly conscious, actually, we've got to be a bit more careful. We've got to have surveillance. It's incredibly important, but it's got to be targeted and it's got to be under judicial control. And that point has been proven better by this than I could have done in 10 parliamentary speeches.
David Davis on the impact of the cyber snooping row. As any